Hey you guys, we are back with another video. And this one, finally, we are going to be talking about extraterrestrials in 2023. What to expect, why are they here, and what we need to do as a collective in order to welcome their presence into our lives. Because the thing right now is that a lot of individuals aren't necessarily ready. They're more, their vibration, their mindset, their manner of behavior is not in line with many extraterrestrial cultures and practices. So what do I mean by this, right? The easiest way is you can look at human society in its current state. In the West, you have, let's say, capitalism, right? Where it's basically every man for himself. Everyone just operates based on their own agenda and doing what's best for themselves and not necessarily caring about others. So this is why there's a disparity, for example, in terms of income. You have some people that are, let's say, on the streets. You have some people who are making 7 figures a year. This gap exists because we don't see the people around us as our own family members. And what I mean by this is that if you see everyone around you as though they're a family member, you tend to treat them differently, right? So if someone asks you on the street, asks you for change, because they're a stranger, you're very likely to ignore them. You're very likely to just brush them off, brush off their needs, and not really care or show any empathy or sympathy to their plight, to their situation. And this happens because we basically don't see them as family. We don't see a reason or a need for us to care about their needs. This is how society operates as of right now. Whereas for extraterrestrials, in their society, they have come to this realization that segregating others does not work. Segregating others causes division and conflict. And if you encounter these sort of issues, division and conflict in your life, it's basically because of the way we as humanity operate. We don't see each and every single person as a family member. Some people we see as friends, some people we see as enemies, some people we see as nothing more than resources to be exploited as for our own personal gain. So, in order to be able to welcome the presence of extraterrestrials into our collective society, onto our planet, we will need to change the way that we operate. We will need to change the way we see others. We'll need to change our mindsets. We'll need to change how we treat ourselves as well as those around us. As of right now, there's a very you deal with your own problems kind of mentality. And there's nothing wrong with this, right? It's what's worked so far for humanity, because at the same time we can't take care of everyone's needs. We would burn ourselves out. So it's better for everyone to be able to deal with their own stuff, right? To be independent. But the issue is that if we adopt this kind of way of living, we also isolate certain groups of people from our society. And this isolation is currently what is preventing us from achieving full open contact with extraterrestrials. And the reason we want to have full open contact with them is that you can think of them again as other family members. They're not strangers. They're not from another planet. They're not from another universe. They're not, these gods that are going to save us all. They are our family members. And they're here to help us understand that concept that we are all one and that there is no separation. So these extraterrestrials are used to living in a society where everyone is treated as a family member. Everyone is treated as basically equal. And so there's a lot of love in their kind of way of interacting with one another. They don't want to compromise their way of living in order to meet us halfway. It's like, imagine you are at school, right? And everyone's your friend. And then all of a sudden you have to move across the country and attend a new school. All of a sudden you have no more friends, right? Everyone's a stranger to you. That's kind of how they feel. If they're to interact with us, all of a sudden they have no friends, right? They feel isolated. They feel like, they're the new kid. They might be bullied. They might be taken advantage of. They might be, harassed and whatnot. And so they don't want to land and interact with us because, not so much of that fear, but because of that knowing that they won't be welcome, that they may not be welcome, and that there are people who are going to be treating them in a negative manner. They are just like you and me, right? They also have emotions. Contrary to what you've been told by the media, they are just these, robots that have no emotions. They don't understand human emotions. The truth is that they understand human emotions far better than how we as humanity understand it. Because we understand as humanity what it's like to suffer, right? We understand what it's like to be isolated from others, to be segregated, to be treated as an outsider. And so we all share that knowing of what it's like to be isolated and not treated as an equal, not treated as a family member. And then now you have these extraterrestrials who we perceive as individuals that don't understand that. But the truth is, they understand that just as much as we do, to the point that they are willing to completely eliminate segregation and isolation and division from their collective. Because they understand what it's like to suffer and be alone, so they don't want anyone to have to feel that way ever again. So in their societies and cultures and collectives, there absolutely is no segregation whatsoever. Everyone is treated as a family member and as an equal. There is nothing but love. Now you look at human society, we still have segregation, isolation, conflict. We still treat each other in ways that are not aligned fully with love. And we think that we understand human emotions better than they do. I think that's kind of crazy, right? The results speak for themselves. The way that our collective compared to their collective is run. So we have a lot of growing up to do, right? We have, basically humanity needs to be more mature in terms of emotions and how we treat one another. Because treating someone as like an outsider is, you basically do that when you're a kid, right? You form teams and you basically like pit. One team is like your enemy, and these guys are my friends. And so I will help my friends and I will hurt my enemy. You see this concept being played out in our collective all the time, right? You have politics, you have like, you know, the reds versus the blues, you have the men versus the women, you have the rich versus the poor, you have the West versus the East, right? You have so much division, this duality that is present in our society. And so we take one side or the other because that is the one that resonates with us, not realizing that the truth is we are actually both. Just like how we have both a logical mind and an emotional heart. Everyone has this. It's just that some people resonate more with logic, some people resonate more with emotion. It's not because they are emotionless or they are logicless. It is that spectrum of the human experience is the one in which they have received the most support of. So for example, someone who claims that they have no emotions and that they are heartless and that the only thing that has served them all this time is logic. Someone who thinks that way is because they've never had any emotional support in their life, so that the only thing they can turn to is logic. And the same goes for people who think that emotions are the most important, is because they've never had any support in terms of their logical thinking abilities. That's why there's duality and division. Extraterrestrial societies understand that there is no division, and that each and every single one of us has the capacity for both logic and emotion. Each of us has the capacity to adopt teachings from the West and the East. Each and every single one of us has masculine and feminine qualities, and each and every single one of us, in terms of our wealth, we could be either very high on the spectrum or very low on the spectrum as well. Because everyone goes through up and down. Everyone goes through ups and downs, right? You ask any person who is wealthy, they've had downs, right? You look at Donald Trump, he's gone bankrupt like 3 or 5 times, I don't remember. But he knows what it's like to be at the bottom. He also knows what it's like to be at the top. So there is no duality, there is no segregation. And so we need to understand this concept and apply it to our own collective so that we start treating each other in a manner that is inclusive of everyone that is involved. And once we are able to do that, then the extraterrestrials will feel welcome to meet us, to interact with us, to share with us what they have learned, their teachings, their cultures, their technology. But at our current point, we still have a little bit of work to do. It doesn't mean that they won't meet us at all. It just means that in order for there to be a very profound and drastic change in which each and every single one of us is treated equally like a family, where everyone can thrive, where there is absolutely no conflict, and where there is nothing except love that exists on our planet, in order for that to occur, then we need full and open contact, which means ETs will come and go as they please on our planet, and it's considered a normal thing. But then getting back on topic for what 2023 has to hold, what that has to hold is that is the beginning, supposedly, of the window of open contact. And so it will start off slow at first. They're not gonna do a mass landing, right? Humanity, again, is not ready. We have division still in our society. We need to deal with that first before there is a mass landing. For now, what I predict will happen is that they will interact with certain members of the society on an individual basis. And these individuals will be kind of like the ambassadors between human society and extraterrestrial society. So these ambassadors basically understand the concept of what it's like to all be one, and what it's like to treat everyone as family. And so we will interact with the extraterrestrials, these ambassadors. They will be the ones to interact with the extraterrestrials, learn their teachings, their best practices on how to create a collective which is based purely on love, and then study those practices and then teach them to members of the human collective so that everyone then is on the same page and operates on the same wavelength. And then once that happens, right, as more and more people gain this knowledge, this understanding, and these teachings, then slowly you will start to see a ripple effect as more and more people encompass this way of living, in treating each and every single person as a family member. And then eventually what will happen is that every single person will be able to adopt this teaching, and it will no longer just be a teaching, right? It will be a way of life. And when everyone is on the same page, then we will be able to basically have a collective that is full of love, of understanding, of abundance, and of nothing but joy. Now, I've also been skeptical of this, right? I was just like, before in the past, when I've heard about this, I've always asked myself, how is that possible, right? How could we see each and every single person as our family member, right? We have so much, conflict, we have so much division in our society today. It's going to take a really long time, and we might believe that it's impossible for humanity to adopt that kind of mindset. But if we look at our past history, as you know, it was very violent, right? We had wars. We had many conflicts and bloodshed. You don't see that today, right? You are able to walk out of your house into the city, and you don't have to fear that someone's going to hit you or attack you. This is assuming that you're living in a well-mannered neighborhood, right? So there is still the duality, depending on where you live, between, safer neighborhoods and more dangerous neighborhoods. The point of it is basically, what kind of neighborhood do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a safe neighborhood, or do you want to live in a dangerous neighborhood, right? Most people would obviously say, I want to live in a safe neighborhood. Well, if you want to live in a safe neighborhood, then you need to understand what it's like to be a unified collective, which means, again, not treating other people as outsiders. Does that mean that the dangerous neighborhood does not exist, where we treat everyone as strangers? No, it still exists, right? It's just a matter of whether or not you want to live there. In order for you to live in a safe neighborhood, you have to agree to operate under certain principles and behaviors, right? You're not allowed to attack people. You must keep your emotions under check. You must follow certain rules to ensure that everyone has a safe and enjoyable experience. That is the cost of living in a safe neighborhood. Not really a cost, right? It's just, certain responsibilities, certain mannerisms that you have to live by. Whereas if you go to a dangerous neighborhood, you have more freedom, right? You can basically live and act however you want. You can hurt people if you want. You can mug them, take their money if you want. In a safe neighborhood, you're not going to have that. And the extraterrestrials, when they land on planet Earth, they want to land in a safe neighborhood. So the people that they're going to interact with first, starting in 2023, are the people that live in a safe neighborhood, metaphorically. AKA, they feel emotionally and logically, they feel like the extraterrestrials will feel like they're landing in a safe neighborhood. They're amongst their own kind, and they won't feel like, I'm going to be attacked, right? Because if you were an advanced creature, like to put it into perspective, it's like, imagine that you went into the Amazon rainforest, and there are like Amazon rainforest tribes, right? Just like groups of tribal humans living in tribal society. And they've got spears, and they've got, bows and arrows, and they basically see anyone that is not part of their tribe as an enemy. Would you feel safe walking into one of these tribes by yourself? Obviously no, right? Because you're afraid that they're going to stab you and probably roast you for dinner. So the extraterrestrials feel the same way in terms of landing here on Earth, right? They see us as like the tribal savages because we don't understand love. So they're not going to land here, and they're not going to interact with members of the human society that are tribal savages. The ones they do want to interact with are the ones that are more cultured and more civilized. They want to interact with, like, people in the city, the working class, the cashier behind your favorite grocery store, right? Like, those people, they feel safe around because it's like, oh, this person's not going to hurt me. This person understands who I am, what I am. They don't see me as a threat, and I don't see them as a threat. So yeah, that's my predictions for 2023 and what we need to do as a collective moving forward, just kind of the action steps and the ways of life and the ways of living that we should adopt in our own life to help speed up this process. So basically, if everyone overnight was to be able to adopt the understanding that we are all family members and that we should all treat each other with love, respect, and unity, we would already have open contact. We would already have technology that is able to enhance and improve our lives. We wouldn't have any suffering. We wouldn't have any conflict. We'd basically be living the life of our dreams. And you don't have to work, right? There's no such thing as money in a unified collective. Or if there is money, then there's no such thing as lack, right? I think the biggest issue that is in our society right now is like the income gap, right? So we feel like we need to work in order to earn a living. My prediction, my opinion, is that in a unified collective society, there is no such thing as money, right? Everything is free because, again, would you charge your family for your services or your food or your whatever? Not really. No, you wouldn't, right? They're your family members. They deserve the best that you can offer them. And if you do treat everyone as your family member, then you, as an individual, would know how to behave responsibly. So you wouldn't eat all the food in the house, right? You would make sure you leave some for the other members of your family. So you have self-control and you know how to behave in a responsible manner. Is right now, all the problems that are present in society is because not everyone knows how to behave in a responsible manner. That is why our society operates the way it is. If everyone could behave in a responsible manner, all of our problems would be gone. But is that people aren't responsible. They're not mature. They don't want to act that way. They want to act like kids. So we got to treat them like kids. That's just how it is. For now, until the changes come. But if everyone was to behave like a grown-up and responsible, then all of these issues would disappear overnight. And that is what we're aiming for. That is what the extraterrestrials are aiming for in helping us with. And that is what I predict is going to be the future of our collective, and what we have to look forward to is that more and more people awaken to this truth, that in acting in a responsible and loving way, the same way an adult would, instead of a child, acting in the manner of an adult instead of a child, then we'll be able to live the life that we all want to enjoy. So yeah, that is my thoughts on what's coming in 2023, the future timelines, and my hopes for the future. Things are looking good, and yeah, that's it. I don't really have much more to say. I think we all understand this concept, which I've just explained to you. Inside our hearts, it's just that we make the decision, we make the choice to not align ourselves and act in manner with those beliefs, because we still have free will, right? We have the choice whether or not to take advantage of someone who is in a vulnerable position. We can also choose not to take advantage of them. It's just a choice. So the more we make the right choices, the more that is going to be reflected in our collective. And eventually, when enough right choices are made, then we will ascend into a unified collective where there is nothing but love, abundance, joy, happiness, and an enjoyable future for all to enjoy. So yeah, take care of yourself. Make sure you get plenty of rest, and that you spend as much time as you can doing the things that you love. Because the more that you do the things that you love, to put yourself into that kind of positive vibration, positive mindset, the more you'll be able to share those positive emotions with the people around you, and they in turn will do the same. So yeah, see you in my next video. Peace and love to you all. And if you don't know yet, I do stream occasionally on my channel. So if you have any questions that you wanted to ask me in terms of counseling or therapy, instead of doing one-on-one sessions, I figured I'd just do live stream sessions. And so you can just pop in and ask me whatever questions you may have. This way I don't have to charge any kind of money, because as you know, therapy costs hundreds of dollars if you see a registered counseling therapy. And so it's difficult for people who don't have that kind of income to spare to get the mental health help they need. So yeah, it's just kind of something I'm doing to hopefully help out those that need that kind of help. So yeah, pop in ask any questions you have. And I'll see you when I see you. See you in the next video. Namaste.